Hi everybody, welcome to the Manifold channel. Today we're going to continue with Manifold Tutorial 2, which is going to continue where Manifold Tutorial 1 left off. We're working in Manifold System Release 9. All this works in the free viewer as well. What we're going to do is we're going to take this map that we've been working with that shows a bunch of layers in Venice, and we're going to delete these old layers and we're going to recreate that. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to undock this map by shift clicking that to move it here, and that's just, I'm just going to reposition that a bit so you can see the various moves that I make here with the context menu. I'm going to delete some of the layers here from the map which we're going to recreate. So let's right click on that and choose delete from map. Wiki landmarks, let's right click on that, choose delete from map. OSM structures, we'll get rid of that too. Delete from map. Venice 1 meter, we'll get rid of that. Delete from map, and let's get rid of the Venice ground surface one as well. And this isn't deleting them from the project, it's just deleting them from being used in the map. They're still here in the project. Let's shift click the title bar there to dock that map. And now let's get rid of some of these components in the project pane. And okay, so we'll get rid of OSM structures and click that. Notice I'm deleting both the structures drawing and the drawings table as well. I'm clicking those to highlight them, and then I click delete. Delete selecting components, sure. Now let's delete a whole bunch at once by control clicking them. That looks pretty good, and we're going to delete those as well. And now let's clean up some of these components by putting them into folders, for example, all these locations. And to do that, I'm going to right click here in the project pane, the main part of the project pane, and choose create new folder. And let's create a folder called locations. And now let's right click and choose create, and choose another folder called old. Create folder. And now what I can do is I can control click the locations, and I can drag them into the locations folder, and so you can see they're now neatly tucked out of the way. And let's change this wiki landmarks component. Let's see, I'm going to use rename related to change all the related items from wiki landmarks to old wiki landmarks. And you can see it conveniently changes all those for me at once when I choose rename. So now I can just control click those and drag them and drop them into old. There, now those are neatly out of the way, and we've just cleaned up the map. So let's recreate the folders that we deleted, in particular the OSM structures. Excuse me, the layers that we deleted, the OSM structures layer and the wiki landmarks layer. And to recreate those, we're going to start by importing some shapefiles. And everybody likes shapefiles, which are kind of an old format, but they're alive and still kicking. And to import the ones we want, we can click into this shapefiles folder that we have here, and just click on the various files we want to import, like wiki landmark shape and OSM structures shape, and drag them and drop them into the project pane. That's one way to do it. But with all these different components of shapefiles, if we have a whole lot of shapefiles, that can be a little bit confusing, and using the Windows Explorer filter box isn't necessarily the easiest way of doing it. Another way of importing files is to choose File, Import, and here in the File Import dialog, double click into that shapefiles folder, and off screen here we're going to choose files of type SHP shape there, and you see that right away filters down to what we're seeing to just those that are files of type SHP. So we can click OSM structures and control click wiki landmarks .shape, click import, and that shows you how Manifold can import multiple files that are picked in either the import dialog or dragged and dropped at the same time. Let's drag the OAM structures layer into the map and the drawing, so you can see it appears in default formatting. And let's drag and drop the wiki landmarks layer, which will appear just immediately above whatever is the active layer. So drag and drop that into the map, and there you can see what that looks like. I'm going to turn off the OSM structures layer so you can see the wiki landmarks layer, which uses default formatting. Let's style those wiki landmarks points so they look like the wiki landmarks points that were used in the first tutorial video. And to do that, we click on the style pane. If we don't have the style pane in view, we can choose view pane style to turn it on. And we'll start by turning those bright green, and this is the fill color. Let's make the size of those 10 points. That's the size button. And let's change the symbology on it to here in the more button to using this symbol right there. Click OK, and you can see that's what we use for those in the first tutorial video. Okay, super. Let's now do the OEM structures. Let's change those using the style pane, And there's a variety of ways of approaching this. We can use a fixed fill color here, for example. Let's use this one right there. And you can see as we zoom in, that produces that kind of effect. Or if we like, we can change the color to copy something that Esri uses. So for example, how would we do that? Well, here in the project pane, I have an image called Esri Venice Colors, and I'll pop that open. And what this Esri Venice Colors image is, and I'll just right click and undock that and resize it here a bit. I can view, zoom to native, and what this is just a screenshot that I did of ArcGIS Pro running the Esri's Venice Aqua Alta tutorial example, which is what this is kind of analogous to. And it used this color there for the structures. It used that kind of a greenish fill color, and it used gray stroke color for the borders. So let's zoom into that a bit so you can see kind of the colors that it used. And let's undock the map as well, so you can see both the map and this fill color thing at the same time. What I want to do is I want to use this color as the fill color and this color as the border color, the gray color right there. And that's easy to do using style. So with the focus in the map, I'll just click this here, and here I choose color picker. There's that cute little color picker tool, and this allows me to pick colors just by clicking anywhere on screen on any of the monitors I have. I have 3 monitors, a whole lot of other stuff running. If say I want to copy a color that's used in Adobe Photoshop or something else, well, I can do it. I just click on that, and instantly that changes that color. Likewise for the stroke color, I can do the same thing. Choose color picker, and here I'll choose this color gray, which is kind of right in the middle there. It's kind of a darker gray, and those are the colors. I'll close this. Those are the colors, and I'll dock this again. That is reuses for the structures in the in Venice. That is the building outlines. Let's resize the border, and the way to resize the border is to use this style, which is extremely ugly for the border. I don't like the way the pictograph works, but it does allow us to choose the style here by just clicking on this size parameter for the fill style, and let's set that to a 0.5 point. Now I think we can do better than the kind of icky green color that Esri uses for the structures. So let's thematically format those. I'll click the fill color, and for the field I will choose the height field. We'll thematically format them using the height field, and what I'll do is I'll use 10 intervals with equal count per interval. Click tally, and that tallies them instantly. And for the color, I'm going to use a color brewer color ramp, which as we call them, we call them a palette in Manifold, called Spectral. And Spectral has become kind of like my go-to palette for coloring objects, so that a range of color. I like the way that looks. And with the Spectral palette, it's kind of cooler to use black color for stroke color. I just think that works out better. And again, as you can see here, if we want, we can change the thickness and size from really icky ugly one like that to that's way too thick, to 1 point, which frankly to my taste is still too thick, or 0.5 points. If you like, you can do something custom here like 0.4 points, and that'll work fine. But I tend to use about 0.5 point, mainly because I can just pick it right off the dialog. All right, so let's zoom to fit here for the structures, and as you can see, we have now colored the areas in the OSIM structures with thematic format. We have changed the wiki landmarks to this symbology right there for the points, and we've basically duplicated the 2 layers that we used in the first tutorial. We imported them as shapefiles, and then we thematically formatted them. Let's create labels for the wiki landmarks layer, and to do that here in the project pane, I'm going to right-click on the wiki landmarks drawing, choose Create, New Labels, and it's going to be based on wiki landmarks. And what's the text field that I want to use? I want to use the name field, which gives the name. Click Create Labels, and there we've created labels. Let's drag and drop that New Layers component into the map, and you can see it appears in this kind of ugly default form, which is difficult to read. So let's style that to make it more legible. And the way we'll style it, I'll use the big combined styling button right here. And if I like, I can just do it with a one-click, click it to change it to that. But we can do better than that, and that's not the look that we used in the previous project. So let's start by choosing something simpler here, and then we'll adapt that simpler deal. So I'll click here on the big combined button layer, combined button control, and choose more. And let's see what I want to do. The first thing I want to do is I want to use a halo, which is going to be a white halo. And I'm going to use a padding of about 1.5. That looks like it's about right. And I'm going to do an angle offset, which will move it down to the right from from each point, so it doesn't kind of overlay the point immediately. And I think I'll use a font that's a 9-point font. And for the actual font, I'm going to click off screen here for more. And in the font dialog, in the filter box, I'll enter NUN to find Nudito Sans, which is kind of a Manifold's go-to font for a lot of things. And let's see, I think semi-bold is what we use here. So let's choose semi-bold, click OK, and that creates that font. That looks good to me, so let's choose OK, and you can see that works right. That's basically what the labels look like in the first tutorial video. And what we've done so far now is we've recreated the Wiki Landmarks labels, the Wiki Landmarks layer with points, and the OSM structures points. So that's a good start to duplicating the project. Let's shift gears a bit and learn more about bringing data into a map. So far we've seen how to import shapefiles. Next, let's take a look at how to link shapefiles into the map. And to do that, we'll go to the project pane. And I'm going to clean up this map a little bit. I'm going to delete that from the map, the Google Maps layer. We're not going to be using that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to link a shapefile into the map. And to do that, I can go to File, Link. And here in the shapefiles layer, let's say I want to link the canals.shape project. I can just click link and bring that in. Or if I like, here from the Windows Explorer, I can take a canals shape and I can drag, and I'm going to press a shift key and watch, and you can see how that logo changes on the icon changes on the mouse. Shift drop means to link the data into the map. And what I've just done is I've just linked canals into the map, and I can drag those that canals layer into the map like that. And let's put that just underneath the OAM structures layer in terms of, above the Bing layer but below the OAM structures layer. And as we can right click and drag to zoom in, you can see the black lines are showing canals. And let's style that. We'll style that using the same style Esri uses. We'll use 1.5 points for the line thickness, and for the stroke color for the lines, we're going to use this burgundy color to give kind of the same effect that Esri uses in their equivalent map. If we zoom into the map, you can see what they look like there. If we take a look at the project pane, everything here that's got like a database cylinder on it is not actually in the project. It's data that's somewhere else. For example, Bing Street Maps is the layers coming in from Microsoft servers through the webs in the form of tiles. The vector data for the OSM canals shapefile that is linked to the map it remains in the shapefile, still stored in the shapefile, and is being brought into the map on the fly. Everything that's not in the database, for example, all these folders here and these components down here, those are actually stored in the .map file, which itself is a parallel database. Manifold itself is a database, so Manifold has the ability to actually store stuff there. So why not always link to shapefiles the way Esri does? Because when you bring in a shapefile layer into Arcgis Pro or QGIS, you're linking it. You're not actually importing that. Well, one reason is that shapefiles are a really old format that's very, very limited. The DBF part, that stores the attributes part of shapefiles, was pretty smart in the late 1970s when it was introduced in DBase 2. But you know what? It's really stupid now. We're 40 years later. Manifold map storage is way more sophisticated, way better for attributes and database stuff, and it's way faster than shapefiles. So it usually pays to actually import data from shapefiles directly into the map project. Now, of course, one advantage of linking with shapefiles is that if the shapefile changes, let's say when your Manifold's turned off and somebody changes the shapefile, they do some edits or something like that. Well, when the shapefile is linked and it appears in the map like this, in the project like this, any changes are automatically integrated. But there's better ways of doing that if you want to do that sort of thing involving the use of databases. All right, we've seen how to link data into the project, so let's look at a different way of doing it. I'm going to delete the OSM canals layer from the map, and I'm going to delete the OSM canals data source from the map as well. That doesn't actually delete the shapefile, it just deletes the reference to it from within the project. And let's look at something that you can do really cool in Manifold. Now, off screen, I'm right-clicking on the Manifold System 9 logo on the taskbar, and I'm then clicking it to launch a second instant of Manifold System Release 9. Let's resize that and bring it into view here. So we have two projects going, one there and one here. There's then another session, and here I'm going to click File, Open. I'm going to open another project, and I'm going to move up one level here. And here you see where it says Esri Venice. I'm going to open up that project. And what the Esri Venice project is this is a basically what the project looks like when I actually loaded components from Esri. I saved shapefiles and stuff from ArcGIS Pro. I exported them, and then I loaded them into an ArcGIS map. Esri very thoughtfully provides many tutorials under Creative Commons attribution, including the Esri Venice Aqua Alta project. So you can recycle that data and use it however you like. For example, you can use it in a Manifold tutorial as we're doing right now. So this is under Creative Commons. It was created by Esri, and we thank them for that. We've just opened up those layers now in a Manifold project, and what I can do here, which is the Canals, and I'll double click that open in its own. Here's the Canals layer that's in that map. I can click Canals, Control-click Canals table, and click Copy. Make sure you get both the drawing as well as the drawings table, because all the data is in the actual table. Click Copy, and then I can click over here into this Manifold session and click Paste, and voila! We've just added Canals from the other project. We've copied it from the other project and pasted it here. I can drag and drop that into the map, and there the canals appear, and using the same formatting that they used in the project from which we copied them. And here I've been using a slightly thicker format, 1.5 points for the canals, so we're going to leave that as there. So that's an extremely handy way of copying and pasting. You can have all sorts of different Manifold projects going, and it's just a wonderful way to copy data from one to the other. Okay, let's look at yet a third way of bringing data in, and I'm going to delete the Canals layer from the map, and here let's delete Canals from there. Delete select components, yeah, sure, okay. Here I'm going to bring back that Manifold session I have, and I'm going to close this project, file close. Now let's do something interesting. What we can do is we can go back here to Windows Explorer, go up one level. So we're here. This is the Esri Venice map that we just opened up before in that other Manifold session. Let's link this Manifold project into the map. I can drag this map into the project, and I'm going to Shift drop it to link it in. And there, bang! It just opens up instantly. And if we pop that open like that, I can pop open anything in here, and it's just like working with that map directly. The cool thing about Manifold.map format is that it's not only parallel, it's not only it's extraordinarily fast. You can link one project into another, and you can nest these projects, however many levels deep, and there'll be absolutely a zero performance hit to that. You can open it instantly, pan and zoom, work with 200 gigabyte images, and it's going to be just as fast. So what we're going to do now is we're going to let's close that. Let's take the MyOSM Canals. Let's take the Canals layer from here, from inside that Esri Venice project, and I'm going to drag it and drop it into my current map, and move that below the OSM structures and above Bing. And I'll style that. I'll change the styling to 1.5 points. So there. So now one of the layers that we have in our current map is coming in from the linked map, the Esri Venice map. Linking Manifold projects into a map is so fast that it's a great way to use individual Manifold projects as archival storage. For example, this Esri Venice map right here is a pretty big project. It's 410 megabytes or so, 409 megabytes, and that's a fully fledged database. That's why you have these database cylinders on it. And when you pop it open, anything that's in there, you can use in the map just as if it was already in the map. So, for example, above Bing Street Maps, let's drag and drop the Venice ground surface layers. Let's use that one there, and I'll turn off the OSM structures, and you can see I'm going to right-click that tab to zoom to fit to the ground surface. That's a huge ground surface. It started off as 110 megabyte TIFF or something like that. So it's probably 200 megabytes worth of raster data that's in this ground surface. But nonetheless, we can pan and zoom just as fast as if it was local to the map, even though it's coming in from a linked project. Why is that? Because that project is a fully fledged, fully parallel, fire-breathing Manifold database that's incredibly fast, and you can use it in the project just as if it was local to the project. So that's why things like this map file here can be used as archival storage. Let's see another example using this map file there called Esri ArcGIS REST service. That's a collection of ArcGIS REST servers, which I'm going to drag and shift drop into our project to add that to the map. And what are those? Those are a collection of image servers from Esri, such as the Canvas World Dark Gray Base, famous image server, which is pretty much everybody's go-to image server when you want a dark background layer. Let's click and drag that into the map to use in a map project. And that's extremely convenient. It looks great, and everybody uses it for a wide variety of uses. It's kind of slow. I mean, some of the Esri servers can be a little bit slow, but that's okay. You know, when they come in, they come in, and you can use them. What's something else that's fun? The DeLorme World Base Map. I'm going to turn off the ground surface so we can see this a little bit better. Let's drop in the DeLorme World Base Map above the canvas layer, and you can see how that's filling in. Esri sometimes interpolates with not the prettiest interpolations that you get for the image servers. You can see these JPEG effects that it's producing, but hey, you know, if you don't like that server, well, you can use a different one. Let's use Esri National Geographic and drag and drop that in. And there's the National Geographic layer. You can see that for some of the servers that Esri operates, map data isn't available until you zoom out, because they just don't have that much detail. But there's the National Geographic server. If you like that, you can use it. If you like that particular look zoomed out, let's right-click and let's right-click and remove that from delete from the map, and let's delete the DeLorme one from the map. Right-click and delete from map. Let's just leave it at that. So now that we're working with archival storage in the form of this big ArcGIS REST servers project, and we'll close up some of these things here. Let's learn another way of, and all this is coming in from this big project right there, which is just a bunch of links. They're image server links. Let's learn how to get one more thing from data from a Manifold project. Suppose I think, okay, this is a Canvas World Dark is a cool layer, but instead of picking it off from a archive here, a different database, let's bring it into my current map. Let's get rid of this project. I'll delete it from the map. And while we're at it, I'll delete the ground surface that we brought in from the other Esri Venice layer. Delete that from map. And let's get rid of the canals as well. Let's delete those from the map. And instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the Canvas World Gray Dark Base data source that is in here in the ArcGIS REST Service project. Click Copy. Close that up, and then down here I'll click down at the bottom to move the focus down to the main part of the map where I'm currently working in my current .map project. And here you can see the paste button has lit up. I'll click paste, and what that does is that took the Canvas World Dark Gray Base data source out of the ArcGIS REST service, which we copied, and we pasted it here to make a local copy in our current project. So now I can delete the ArcGIS REST service if I want, because I no longer need that. Let's do that. Delete selected component. Sure, it's basically unlinking it. And now I have the Canvas World Dark Gray Base data source locally, so I can drag it and drop it into the map, and there it is. So you know, we now have Canvas World Dark Gray Base to use as kind of one of our data sources that's in this map project, along with Bing and Google's. And we'll just leave that there for a while because we're going to be using this for background. It makes a kind of nice, pretty background layer for something like OSM structures, where you can see them in all their you know, polychrome glory against that nice dark background. And we'll leave the Esri Venice layer like in, no harm done, because it takes absolutely zero space in the project, in the map project. And next we'll learn how to import a TIFF file, and what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate the ground surface layer that we've been pulling in from the various other projects, which we had originally in the first tutorial project. Okay, so next we're going to recreate that ground surface that we were using by importing a TIFF file. And to do that, I'm going to choose File, Import. Let's do it this way. And here's the Venice ground surface TIFF. That's 132 megabytes. Click on that, click Import, or I could have dragged and dropped it into the project. And it takes a Manifold a few seconds to import its thinking, because that 132 megabyte TIFF, which is compressed format, is going to expand into about, I don't know, probably about 300 megabytes of image, and a raster image. So let's drag and drop that into the map. And there you see what an image looks like by default in Manifold. We can zoom to fit, zoom a little bit closer, and we can style that. And the way we're going to style that is, you guessed it, we're going to use the style pane. And to use the style pane, I'll click the style pane. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change let's make it equal intervals, and let's do 10 breaks. And click tally, and Manifold's going to compute statistics on the surface. There it is. And what I'll use is let's see, the closest lower value. And here I'm going to change this interval to 0.01. And what I'll do is I'll make everything below that transparent. So we're saying that make everything below the 0.01 level transparent. And what that does is that knocks out every place which is water. And now for the rest of this, let's color that. And for the first color, I'm going to make a kind of a moss green, tarragon green. Let's use moss green. And for the upper color, let's use kind of like a beige. I'll use this beige right there, topaz sand. And I'll use a trick, Control A, to choose all these intervals except that one. And here I will interpolate between them. And let's see how that works. I'll choose Update Style. Okay, and here in the options, I'm going to turn on Hill Shading. When you look at the style, I'm going quickly here, but when you look at the various style videos, you can see how style works. It's easy to learn. And you can see there's that, we've now styled that with some hill shading that shows the train elevation in Venice. And I'm not particularly happy with that train elevation look. I think I prefer the look that was used in the other projects that we were working with. For example, here in the Esri Venice project, I could we can click open the the map that's there, and you can see the ground surface that's used here. Let's turn off structures, canals, and landmarks, and you can see that's kind of a prettier look. I kind of like that look better. So how can we grab the styling that we used for Venice ground surface from this project? Remember, this is a link project. That's easy to do. I'll just right click on that and choose properties, because the styling of a raster image is just the style pixel property. And if I hover over that, let's move over here so when I hover you can see the full thing. You can see that's basically a JSON expression, and I can right click that and choose copy, click cancel. We've copied that to the clipboard, so it's still in the Windows clipboard. And then down here in my main part of the project, in this map here, what I can do is I can right click on Venice ground surface, choose properties, and then here what I will do is take this relatively simplistic styling, and I'll paste the styling from the other map. Click OK, and you can see instantly that changes to use that styling from the other map project. I don't need this map, so I will close it. And what we've done here, which is kind of cool, is that we've copied styling from a different database. It's basically a different map project that's been linked in here from a component there. We've copied one of the properties there, and we've pasted the property into a component, a raster image that's here in our current map. And while we're at it, here we've got the Esri Venice thing going. Let's drag and drop the Venice 1 meter layer from there, and close that back up again. And you can see we now have a Venice 1 meter layer that we're bringing in from the Esri project. And what this does, this shows the flood stage in Venice. And if I click the style pane, it shows us the thematic formatting for that. Basically, 0 and below are all transparent, and a half meter is blue, and so forth. And you can see some parts of Venice don't start flooding, which is kind of like the wider parts aren't flooded until they're like 2 meters high. The water's 2 meters above normal flood stage, whereas some parts of Venice start flooding right away, like down here in the Piazza San Marco. Let's try to open some structure so you can see where we are. In the Plaza San Marco, some parts of that plaza are going to get flooded right away, which is when you see all the pictures of tourists walking around with rubber boots on the kind of elevated wooden walkways that Venetians set up to keep tourism going. Let's turn off canvas dark so we can zoom in further with that dialing off on us. And that's the 1 meter flood stage. Okay, let's turn off the 1 meter flood stage. We're going to leave the ground surface on. Go back here to the project pane. And next I think what we're going to do is we've come a long way here. We've kind of duplicated a lot of the project. We've kind of duplicated the ground surface from the original tutorial. We've learned how to work with raster images and to make terrain elevations. We've brought in the OSM structures. We brought in the landmarks. We did the labels. So we've got a lot of that done. And suppose we don't want to use Esri canals, but we'd like to create our own canals, and that's kind of easy to do as well. Creating our own canals layer means importing data from OpenStreetMap and then editing that. So that's going to be a change of pace. We're going to learn about editing and stuff like that. So let's begin by importing canals. And to do that, I'll go into this subfolder here, where I have what are called shapefile extractions, which I downloaded from a website, which takes the fearsomely complicated PBF format for OSM, which OpenStreetMap, which Manifold also can read, but simplifies it a bit by extracting it into different shapefiles that have different sorts of things. For example, like waterways. So I'm going to take this shapefile for the waterways and drag and drop it into the table, and there it goes. Takes a second to bring it in because there's a lot of them, and what we're going to do is we're going to go here and drag and drop that into the map. I'm going to turn off OSM structures, wiki landmarks layers, because we're going to work with the waterways, and I'll click and control click on that tab to zoom to fit, and you can see we basically brought in the waterways through the entire nordest region of Italy. To work with to get the ones that are just in Venice, because that's what we're going to start with. I'm going to kind of zoom down to here to our area of interest in Venice, and I'm going to control, click and drag to select the waterways here, and those are basically all the waterways around Venice. If I control click on the tab, we can see we just selected a small part of them here. I can choose Edit, select Inverse to select everything other than those, and now choose Edit, Delete, and delete selected records. Yeah, you bet. And what that's going to do is that's going to delete everything except those waterways that are immediately around Venice. And let's start by simplifying these. And the first thing I want to do is I'm going to let's rename this guy. Let's change this to from that long name, the long OSM name, to let's call this my OSM Canals. Because after all, they will be canals, and it conveniently renames both the drawing and the drawings table. And the first thing I want to do is I'll pop open the drawings table here to look at the attributes, and you can see that some of these waterways have names and some of them don't have names. And so what I want to do is I want to select all the ones that are null and delete those. Let's use the select pane for that. So that's the name field, and I want to search and click all those which are null. Let's just select everything that's null. Click select, and it's immediately selected those. If I look at the map, you can see the ones that don't have names have been selected. Let's choose Edit, Delete. Delete selected records. Yeah, so let's delete those. Okay, so that's the first step of simplification. Now for the rest, I'm just going to freehand control click and drag various waterways to select the ones that I want to get rid of, and I'm just going to kind of freehand select those which kind of are a little bit farther away from the area of interest that I've been working with. And if I like, I can right click and drag to zoom farther in. And let's get rid of this guy here like that. I'm trying to do this carefully to not mess up. And let's get rid of that guy and this one. And what I want to do, just want to and here, bring that one back. And I just want to get rid of some of the ones that right click and drag to zoom in. Okay, let's get rid of that one. And this one here. And a little tinker time to all this, but I just want to make things look a little bit more like the way they looked in the Esri map. To just pick some of the main canals. Great, so let's click Edit, Delete. Delete selected records. Okay, that's cleaned them up a bit. Now if I zoom in here, though, I notice that if some of these guys here where I look in, OSM has a kind of a how to put this. It can be a somewhat inconsistent look. So, for example, there's this box that's drawn around what should be a canal line. I'm going to control click on that, and there's right click and drag here to zoom into there. This box too, I'm going to pick, and I want to get rid of those boxes because those aren't canals. I don't know exactly what they sure they are, but they're part of the waterway structure. So that kind of gets rid of those, and I think we've done a pretty good job of cleaning this up in terms of making those canals look more like what we saw in the Esri waterway. All right. Let's take a let's see what we did, and that's only with a few seconds of work without particularly paying attention. We did a pretty good job on that. If we like, we can alt click on those canals just to see what the attributes are. Oops, click on some canals and alt click here, and that's the Rio di Giardinetti. I don't know what that is. Here's another one, Rio de Ferraro. Here's that's a long one. This is the Grand Canal. If you've been in Venice, you know the Grand Canal because you go up and down it all the time on the water taxis and the water buses. So that's cool. Let's style those canals by making them 1.5 points thick. And let's pick a nice blue color for those. Let's pick those. There. Let's turn on the OSM structures, wiki landmarks labels, and as you can see, we're coming along here and building a fairly nice map in a remarkably rapid time. Speaking of maps, let's learn how to create a map. I'm going to go back here to the project pane. We have just one map in this project right here. This is the one that's popped open. What's interesting is that you can have as many maps as you want in a Manifold project. You can have 1,000 of them. That's unlike Esri ArcGIS Pro or QGIS, where you only get one map, but that is only one structure that has a bunch of layers. So let's learn how to create maps like this, where we have a bunch of layers, and that's easy to do. You just right-click in the project pane, or choose File, Create, and choose here Create New Map, and that pops up in the New Map dialog. And pretty much every map starts with some kind of base layer, and you can choose from one of the pre-built image server layers here as a base layer, or none. And let's choose Google Maps Satellite. You can choose whatever coordinate system you want, and I tend to leave them in a pseudo-Mercator if I'm using one of the built-in image servers, because that's what they tend to use. And so for our new map, let's use a Venice ground surface layer. Let's use, we won't use buffers. I happen to right-click when I was on buffer, so it automatically turned that on for me. Let's see, what else did we use? We use OSM structures, and let's use my OSM canals. So those are going to be our three layers. Click Create Map, and that creates map 2. Double-click that open, and you can see there's map 2. And what it has is a Google Satellite layer, and we can zoom in, take a look, and see what's going on. If we want to change the map by adding more layers to that, we can certainly do that. For example, instead of a base layer of Google Maps satellite image, we want to use the Canvas World Dark Gray base layer that we added. Just drag and drop that into the map, and now we have a canvas in there as well. So we can have that nice dark color. Let's turn off the Venice ground surface and zoom in here, and you can see how the dark background provides a really kind of a cool look with with these brighter colors for the the various structures and for the canals. And what we have here is a map that, at our option, turns a bunch of layers on and off. It's a different map than this one. It uses some of the same components. Maps actually don't take up any space at all, because all they are is just this tiny few hundred bytes here that say what are the layers in the map, and those are just different layers that are in the map or in data sources that are referenced by the map, and the coordinate system that the map uses, and that's it. That's why I say you can have 1,000 layers if you want in the map, and they're a great way of creating different sorts of thematic visualizations, different sorts of visualizations of the same sort of thing. And at any time here we can turn off Canvas World Dark Gray base and use Google Maps to zoom into someplace interesting here, like the island where the Church of San Giorgio is located. To get a better look at that, let's turn off OSM structures, and as you can see, we can zoom in here. How many people knew? And I tell you, I've been to Venice many times, and until I did this project, I didn't realize that right here on the same island where the Church of San Giorgio is located, there's this spectacular maze, and this maze is dedicated to the memory of an Argentine writer who was beloved by the foundation that owns this part of the island and has a museum of art and other sorts of things that are right there. So that's really pretty spectacular. What we can do just to keep this in mind is we can create a new location, and let's call this location Venice Maze. So now we have yet another stored location. We can bop around to various locations. Everything continues to work. Everything that we did in the project earlier, for example, in the prior video, is still there. Like, for example, we did locations for the Rialto Bridge. Let's put the canals underneath the structure, so that's there. And what else can we do? We can let's zoom to Venice overall. Let's zoom to the Plaza San Marco. If you recall, we did Boston Commons, so we can boom teleport to the other side of the world. I mean, it's just amazing how you can just hop around, see all these different places in Manifold. And of course, we can see this new maze that we discovered. Don't miss it next time you're in Venice. It's absolutely a blast to try to get there. I understand that with the pandemic, you might not be traveling to Venice anytime soon, but when you will, you'll be amazed to find it. Just one of the many cool things you learn when you play around with Manifold. Let's zoom even closer to this maze. This is just so cool. I kind of want to take a better look at it. This actually spells the writer's name, Borges. Let's do one last thing. We looked at how we could take a data source from Esri Venice or from the ArcGIS REST servers and copy that into the map. That's a very powerful copy it into the project. It's a very powerful thing because that data source might not be just a project or a reference and image server. It could be a connection to, say, our Oracle database, or it could be other very sophisticated things, to data sources and ODBC connections and all that sort of stuff, which is an extremely easy way to automate a lot of functionality. We can also take stuff that we've created here in the map, for example, my OSM Canals, and we can copy from the map and we can put it into a data source, for example, like here, Esri Venice. And you can see I did that before. Let's delete that. Delete those components. Yeah, sure. And now from here we can take my OSM Canals, Control-click to get them both, right-click on that and choose Copy, and then we can click on Esri Venice and right-click and choose Paste. And what we've done is we've taken something from our local project here, and we've pasted it into a remote project, which is actually a remote database. Why that has an asterisk there, that's because we changed something in this project. And so until we save this project, updates to that will not be saved. What we can do, by the way, is we can copy stuff from here, for example, shapefiles, and let's say the data source here is a Postgres database or a Oracle database, SQL Server database. We can copy from the project and paste into those databases. In that case, the paste will be instantaneous. That that copies right away, and that's actually one of the best ways to load data into, say, a Postgres SQL PostGIS database. It's faster to load a shapefile into a Manifold project, copy the Manifold project, and then paste it in Postgres than it is to use the native Postgres loader. Another way, once we've created something new like this MyOSM Canals project, is we can export it. For example, we can export that into a shapefile. Right-click on that, choose Export, and now we can choose whatever format we want to use. And let's make it a shapefile, and we'll call it MyOSM Canals. So when I click Export, Manifold will automatically export that. Let's pop that project open, and you can see it created the MyOSM Canals shapefile ensemble of files. Manifold drawings, like MyOSM Canals, can contain points, lines, and areas, and they're not restricted to just being only points, only polylines, or only polygons, as your nomenclature would put it. So if you have a mix of objects, different geometry objects in a shapefile in a drawing layer in Manifold, when you export it to a shapefile, it'll create 3 separate shapefiles. It'll create one shapefile for the points, one shapefile for the lines, and one shape point for the areas. Manifold will automatically split them up for you. Well, we've learned a lot of different ways in this video to import data. We've learned how to import rasters. We learned how to import vectors. We learned how to bring in rasters from OpenStreetMap and how to edit them to create a folder, a layer that is exactly what we want. We learned how to copy data sources from different projects. We learned how to link projects to use archival projects, Manifold map projects as archival projects. There are many, many more ways of doing all that stuff, but we're going to leave those for more advanced videos. And what you've seen so far in this tutorial video too will get you off to a good start. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I'd like to thank you for watching. Tell your friends about Manifold. Try this out in the free viewer, and enjoy. Goodbye from Manifold Land. Well, that was fun. If you want to see more, visit us at www.manifold.net. As always, Manifold delivers the world's most advanced, highest quality spatial products for GIS and DBMS at a low price that you can afford. Once again, that's manifold.net. See you soon.